Well, good afternoon. It's a beautiful day in southern New Hampshire. It's probably about 80 degrees out there right now, and we are getting ready to plant our first beans of the year. Yes, it's a little risky, but hey, nothing risk, nothing gain, as the old saying goes. But so we're going to be working on planting bean seeds pretty soon here, and I've got my inoculant to sprinkle some of that in a little bit. I'll let these guys soak for a couple hours, and let's get that going right in the spot where the beans are going to go, so we can get that started. If it does get a little chilly, I'll just throw a blanket over top of the row to keep the heat in at nighttime. I'm not concerned about that. You know me by now that I kind of like to push the seasons. And we'll go ahead and get started with that. We're going to go ahead and run the hoe up and down the row to get that ready to plant. Real quick, we're going to go ahead and loosen this up a little bit here with the hoe, get it opened up so we can plant our beans. Now, I'd like to do in this 6-foot bed here is plant the beans in 2 rows. So I'll plant the first row here, and then a couple of weeks later, when they'll start to come up and germinate, I'll plant my second row here. And then, of course, the peas, the hoops will be coming up pretty shortly here. It's getting quite warm. However, I did see the extended forecast for our area, and it's talking 35 degrees. I think one of these nights coming up here, so we'll have to keep a close eye on everything out here. So I'm not quite too quick to pull away the plastic yet, because I could use it. We get a lot of tender peas coming up in different areas, but the ones just coming out of the ground should be okay for a light frost. These a little more higher up, they'll get nipped if you keep those covered a little bit. Spinach, I don't worry about that. But we'll go and watch the weather carefully. But yeah, so I'm just going to open this up. I always like planting my beans kind of a wide row, about 2 or 3 across. It makes more of an impressive yield that way. They seem to kind of support each other a little better, and you get more out of an area also. One thing else I'll be doing as I plant this here, I'm doing a lot of what's called intercessive planting, and I like to try to get as much I can out of a raised bed here. Now, these are not the typical wood formed raised beds. These are free forming. But when I plant my second row about 18 inches away, then as these peas start wrapping up, they probably pretty much start producing by the first part of June. I'll be planting every couple of feet between these new beans coming in here and over here will be acorn squash. And then as the beans totally wrap up, I'll plant a future crop of broccoli every couple of feet along there, interplanted with lettuce in between. So in a sense, I'm getting almost 2 crops out of a bed, which isn't bad for zone 5, but you gotta, like I say, only because I started early, March 21st with the peas, with of course help to get those guys off and running quickly. And a lot of nights of covering them up. Even some nights have to go in between the hoops with a blanket, because it would get down to 20 degrees at night. Even with plastic, with a blanket on top isn't enough, so I had to make sure I had protection right against the soil itself, and it worked. So we're going to go ahead and finish getting this prepared, and then we'll be back to plant the beans in a little while once the inoculant gets absorbed and the beans swell up a little bit. All right, well, the beans have had enough chance to swell up a little bit, and the bean variety we're using is called Savannah. It's a pretty good bush green bean. It comes from Harris Seed Company, and I like it because it tends to hold the pods up nice and high in the plant. Nice slender, you call it a French type of a bean, and the instructions calls for planting about every 1.5 to 2 inches apart. I guess I like to plant things kind of in a wide row type of format. I guess it makes a nice impressive yield that way. And these should be ready in about 55 days. So I'd say by providing the weather hangs on the way it's going now, but you know how spring can be, it can trick you. They should be ready probably be picking these by the last week of June. And we do enjoy fresh beans, and then also we do pick quite a few too. That's interesting. So I saw a bean already sprouting, but it wasn't. It was something else. I go, wow. Every couple inches. Doesn't take long to do this at all. You probably wonder, how do I know just how much beans to put in here? Because I did pre-soak them. I don't want to overcrowd it, but I guess after doing this many years, I know that about this far in this container for about a 15-foot row will do it just about right as far as spacing it out. If I get too close, I'll go thin a few of them out. If they're too far, if I got too many left over, I'll sprinkle a few in between and it comes out fine. It's not a perfect science planting beans. I think it's gonna come out just about right. Once again, the black stuff on it is innoculant, which helps fix the nitrogen that the nodules on the beans create, and has a better job pulling nitrogen out of the air, so you get a more of an impressive yield that way too. There we go. So we're just going to give it about an inch and a half of covering. As far as, I don't typically fertilize ahead of time. I find that just let the beans come up. When they get their first true leaves, which is basically secondary leaves in some people's minds, then I'll go ahead and give it a late fertilizing. As they do come up, I can hit them with some fish emulsion too. Maybe a little, not the full strength. That helps will kick them along too. And I see once the true leaves come through, a couple inches tall, then I'll start going and putting in some regular organic garden fertilizer.